Welcome to Spill the Booch. This is the show where we share wild, hilarious, and also relatable stories from the yoga and wellness world because let's be real, it isn't always as zen as it seems. I'm Mara, and I'm here with my team of yoga world superstars and business coaches, Terri and Bridget. Welcome. Thank you for coming on today. Together, we're diving into stories that make you laugh, cringe, and say, yep, that's so studio life. So grab your coffee, kombucha, or your favorite drink, and let's jump in. Now, for me, this one hits all the nostalgia feels today. As you all know, I used to work at Josh and Jenna's yoga studio, but what many of you don't know is that I also used to work at a wedding shop, and that wedding shop just so happened to be right across the street from the yoga studio. So I would literally go from the yoga studio to the wedding shop and vice versa and work nonstop with bridezillas and then mellow out with yoga. So anyways, today's story is also our very first Am I the Asshole story, which is my favorite thread in Reddit.
What's it
So
called?
Am I the Asshole?
Oh,
It's a good one. It's my favorite thread. It's really funny. So the title of today's story is Am I the Asshole for not moving my wedding date? What is this gonna be about? Hey everyone, my fiance and I recently got engaged, and when looking at wedding dates, we realize our anniversary falls on a Saturday this year. Perfect. We immediately start planning because it's approximately 9 months out, and we have to move quick to pull a wedding together. We told everybody the potential date, and this weekend seemed to work well. Monday, I get a phone call from my father. He insists that I move the date because my mother has a yoga retreat that weekend. I tell him that this date means a lot to me and I would prefer to keep it that way. And is there a way to move the retreat? There is, but it's expensive. I offer to pay for this change out of my wedding budget, especially having the amount that I could spend on the most important day of my life. Yesterday, I was told that they would not be taking my offer to pay to move the retreat and that we're expected to move the wedding date instead. I haven't put any money in my wedding venue yet, so they think I should be fine with giving up on the chance to marry on a date that means a lot to me. It became a massive fight, and now my parents and I aren't speaking. My father accused me of caring about the date more than I care about my mother. I told him that it felt as though they were choosing yoga over their own daughter. Would I be the asshole if I keep my date and say that it's me or the retreat? Terri?
first off, why do you need 9 months to plan a wedding, for God's sakes? That's part of the problem.
That's actually a small amount compared to how other people. That's a small
It is a
time.
$1 trillion industry. So anybody look out there, save your money and buy whiskey. Save your money and buy something else because
And buy what?
it's an expression I used to, this older gentleman I work with, he always said buy whiskey. Point being is that, and I've had every kind of wedding that you can imagine, so I know about this.
But not everybody has had 3 weddings, Terri.
Said that though.
But this does make you a unique expert on this question.
Point being is that I think this is a larger issue. I think it's just like the wedding industry is just really gone, I think has just gone haywire. But if you want to have your special day, I guess what it boils down to for me is it's obviously already caused a rift in the family. And it's just how gracious you want to be about it. If that day is so important to you that you're willing to have this rift in your family, then stick to your guns. However, if you're willing to be a little bit more flexible, like a yoga practice, then
she's not the one doing yoga, so she's not well versed in flexibility.
I would think that the mother would be willing to be flexible, but it sounds to me like if she's drawn that line in the sand, then she just has to decide if she wants her parents there or not. Yeah. And truthfully, I think either way, if she does decide to move it, then she needs to be gracious about it, because why would you want to start your life out with your new spouse with this hanging over you?
So is she the asshole? Is the
asshole? I would just say that I think they should sit down and talk.
Yeah. That would be the adulty thing to do. Yeah, what about you, Bridget? What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, a first question I have, as often is the case with I am the asshole questions, I'm left with more questions than answers. But Is the mom leading a yoga retreat or is she attending a yoga retreat? She keeps saying, I'm having, do you know?
Yeah. So there is an update, which gives us a little bit more context because usually when there are lots of questions,
People
then
will
they
say
put
that,
an
yeah.
update. So let me see. The update doesn't give us very many details. I'll read it after. But in the comments, from what I can see, it's an annual yoga retreat that the mom goes on. She's not running the retreat.
Got it. Because if you
Every
say,
year.
because it says like, she's put money towards it already. And I'm like, if you've put money towards leading a yoga retreat already, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars. If you've put a down payment on a bed at a yoga retreat, you could be looking more like $500. So I think that, like Terri said, they need to just sit down and talk. I think that that's always the way to resolve these things, is to come together with a little vulnerability and humility on your side. Listen to people's feelings, share your own. I genuinely do think that almost all, and this is where it relates, I think, to yoga studio ownership, is like, this is such a good place to start with all conflict, because you can get into this space where, whether it's with, maybe it's with a teacher, you know, an employee, and it's like, well, this person's having all of these feelings and really digging their heels in, and I feel like it should be like this. And one thing I've been coaching my own manager on with conflict is the first place to go is to sit down together and ask questions. Ask, what's going on for you in this? You're seeming like this is a real, like, what the heck is all this drama about, you know? And just genuinely inquire.
Be curious.
Yeah, exactly. Be curious. And then almost always people just want to share their feelings and get out the pain that they're feeling. And then in terms of what's more important, I think another good point Terri made is the whole wedding industrial complex with having the perfect day, and like to diminish how cute it would be to get married on your anniversary. That's convenient and cute. Then you only have one anniversary. But I just think both parties are being a little silly and holding on really tight when usually the answer is to hold on less tight. That's generally. But I do not think this person is, I think that both are the asshole and neither is super the asshole. But I think it's just everyone needs a little chill pill.
Makes sense. Maria, what are your initial thoughts? I can't remember if you.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, perfect. So to give you a quick update, this lady, it's an Am I the Asshole post. The girl is getting married and wants to set her wedding date on her anniversary. It falls on a Saturday. And then her mom is going to a yoga retreat, and she goes to this yoga retreat every year and wants her to change the date. And the daughter even offered to pay to change the yoga retreat date. So who's the asshole here?
So hang on. The daughter is getting married and the mom is prioritizing a yoga retreat over her daughter's wedding.
And wants her to change the wedding date. The wedding date is not set in stone yet. Nothing's booked.
They were just talking about that date.
I see. Well, damn, this must be a really important yoga retreat. Maybe it's had a really profound impact on her life or something.
Maybe. That's a good way to look at it.
I don't know. Terri's saying something. I don't know what she's saying.
Terri, you're muted. You're still muted.
If it has had a profound impact on the mom, then what I would say it hasn't, because if it really was profound,
I was gonna say the same.
flexible about this. And the other thing that strikes me is, again, totally just my take on it, is there is definitely some underlying conflict between this mom and this daughter.
For sure. This
Absolutely.
is so drama.
Very clear.
They probably already have a lot of issues, perhaps issues in their tissues and
issues in their tissues.
Amen.
Because something like this to escalate to this point just makes me think, what else is going? The saying, "What's happening under the iceberg?" This expression. It wasn't the iceberg that the Titanic could see that sunk the iceberg. It was what was below the iceberg. It was what was below the waterline that sunk the Titanic. And I think that what we're seeing in above the iceberg is this whole thing with dates. Something definitely going on underneath that damn iceberg that they're just addressing. But to Bridget's, for me, I would just say your relationships with your family are incredibly important. And when you start out and first off, anniversary, didn't they do little things back? Is this the anniversary of when they first slept together? Is this the anniversary date? Is this
Probably that.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's like either their engage anniversary or the date, like their date anniversary.
Started
Yeah.
dating, probably.
probably
This is just the day of the week that we met, and I really want to know.
Friday.
So
Whoever's
I'm gonna
less
speak
crazy.
Sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
No, I was just gonna say whoever's less crazy needs to just give in. That's my final answer.
So as a person that is very attached to dates, and it helps for sure to know the people in the situation, obviously. So my mom, if this was me and my mom, first example, she knows that I'm very attached to dates. So if this for me magically happened that my anniversary landed on a Saturday and my photographer was available, because everybody knows how important photography is for me and photos and all of that. And my photographer I had to book the minute I got engaged. So there are other elements that may be in play here, because if your photographer is available, if the venue's available, and if everything's working out except for your mom who wants to go to a yoga retreat, I'm totally on the daughter's side. I would not want to change my date. And
Yes.
that's me, who's only been married once, Terri. And also
So far, but you never know what could happen.
any bad relationship.
words of wisdom to you younger people or people who are married and think it's like, let me tell you, stay married unless it's an absolutely abusive relationship. Think it's hell
Stay
dating.
the course.
Make it work. You got this. Yeah, it really does suck for the mom, obviously. But as yoga business coaches, if a client came to you with this situation and they, for some reason, didn't think of like cancellation policy, do you run retreats at your studio, Bridget? Is this
Yeah,
something
our
you
first one
have?
is coming up in 1 month.
Oh,
exactly.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
What
Mhm.
cancellation policies do you have?
They're
You if someone was like, my daughter wants to on this date.
They're pretty strict because we put so much money into it, and we are basically just go on the retreat center's policies. So we're pretty strict with our paperwork and our official stuff. But of course, if someone came to me and presented this situation, I would be like, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you get this spot filled by someone else so that you don't, but also 9 months in advance, it shouldn't be an issue at all. That would not be a problem. And also the daughter offered to change it for her. So there's obviously no issue.
Something
I
larger
just,
going on.
I feel like
Yeah.
this mom is maybe a little cuckoo, and we've all been there. We've had, not my mom, but we've all known a cuckoo mom or two in our time.
Mhm.
It's just this, how do you want to start out your married life? If this is going to be a rift, right? If anything, it'll get worse. And if you're okay with that,
Yes, but this is your mom. This is her mom that she's dealing with. I don't think this has to do anything with her marriage.
no, let me tell you, familial issues can drastically undermine a marriage.
You
know.
think maybe the mom might take it out on the marriage
Who
itself?
knows? It's just like if
Yeah.
they're lying fault, bad energy, there's this thing, and then what happens when they start to have kids and then they want to see the grand, it just, if you
Oh,
start
I'm at a yoga retreat that weekend, so the
Yeah.
kids.
saying that these are the type of things that can, unless you just like cut ties, and I guess that's a new thing right now with people, it's just like they're cutting ties with family, just like divorcing family essentially. And my only thing saying is that something like this could potentially just fester again below. It's just like, and then does that bode for later on? And then that then becomes a stress on the marriage. If you're in a fight with your mother or someone in
Yes, that's a very good point.
your stress,
Totally.
all that in your life, and your husband is like, can't you just get over it? How do I get over it? This is my mother, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean by
That's a good point.
Maybe the mom is the asshole, but the daughter should just let it go. That's probably just the fastest way to what we need the end result to be, because it does sound, especially with the dad getting involved and being all, we're not doing this, blah, blah, blah.
It's weird to me that the mom hasn't said anything. It's all through the dad, because it says
That's very odd as well.
and was like, your mom has a yoga retreat, blah, 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 blah. And her father's accusing her of not caring about his mother and all this. So why isn't the mom talking and having these conversations?
That's a really good call. Interesting.
Yeah.
Going applying
Mhm.
this back to a yoga studio when you have problematic things like this with, if you could extrapolate to say, what if it's two staff members or two teachers or a teacher in front desk and there's this problem and one is not willing and it's because it's undermining the functioning of the studio, then something, you as the owner, you have to do something.
Yeah,
And
it brings it back to what Bridget was saying about bringing them together and having a real conversation and how important it is to the amount of times that my husband and I have had these conversations where I'm asking him, like, what's going on? What's going on? He's like, nothing, nothing, nothing. And he's so stubborn about it. And then finally the truth comes out of why he doesn't want to do something or why he did something. I'm like, oh, well, if you would have started with this, I would have 100% understood where you were coming from, and we wouldn't have had this giant fight in the first place.
People just want to be heard.
Yeah,
They just want to be seen and heard. And that could go a long way, I think, in this situation with this, both of them. And again, whoever is the less crazy one just needs to be the less crazy one, Like whoever is less crazy needs to be the one to be like, no, no, mom, you go ahead. Tell me what's going on for you.
Yeah.
Share this with me. And also, I think that's also what's being avoided by the dad doing all the communication, which is just
Trying
not
to
good.
keep, but really he's making it way worse.
And you have someone coming to you and saying, oh, Bridget's not happy about this. And what are you going, it's like, wait a
Totally.
second, your business, if it's like the heat, you're getting this second or third hand, it's never good.
So bad.
You got to go
Yeah.
talk to the person and cut that shit out right away.
All right, well, let's check out some of the comments. So the overall vote was not the asshole on the story. Comments are not the asshole, and the next time your parents invite you to something, tell them namaste at home. Not the asshole. First of all, congratulations on your upcoming wedding. However, I'm sorry to say that your parents have made it perfectly clear where on their priority list you, their child, is, and apparently below yoga. And you are right. She is choosing yoga over you. A yoga retreat is something that can be done anytime. Your wedding will only happen once. Don't let your father say that you don't care about your mother. He is gaslighting you. Just come to say that. Classic gaslighting and guilt trip, not the asshole. Definitely agree with you that OP, original poster, is not the asshole, and the parents are. But nothing in this post comes close to an example of gaslighting. There's so much controversy and arguments on Reddit about what gaslighting is.
What is gaslighting?
Oh my
People
gosh,
are
there's a whole
fired up about
thread
it.
on gaslighting. Wild.
You know where that term comes from?
That movie, right?
Classic.
Alfred Hitchcock?
I think it might be 1944 Gaslight,
Well,
Wikipedia.
Terri, while you look up that, I'm going to finish reading some
You
comments.
keep going, Mara.
Not the asshole. If your mother puts a yoga retreat over your wedding date, then that's on her. It would be different if you decided to get married this weekend, not 9 months out. I get that it's inconvenient and possibly expensive schedule conflict, but the odds of you getting a date on the calendar that works for everyone is basically 0%. I would just not invite them all. This looks like a power play. I wouldn't want negative people in my life. There was a really good comment here. They are hard, not the asshole. If a parent can't even prioritize their child's wedding over retreat, then they aren't ever going to prioritize their child. And this is a yearly event, then they can skip a year. Both parents here are assholes. Not the asshole, but you can compromise here. Offer to keep their seats in the front row open with a picture of them in memoriam. When people offer their condolences, say you can accept and say, it's a real shame they couldn't be here, but the yoga retreat was so important to them.
Death by yoga.
Take photos of their faces to helium balloons that bob around just at head level. We've done this and it's great. Include dollar store pool noodles with thrift store donated wedding clothes as stand-ins for mom and dad, and wire down the middle to make them posable. Edit, then do the father-daughter dance with the noodle dad.
Oh, I love that.
That's probably the best comment.
That's the best noodles with the noodles. I think that's great.
Yeah, there's everybody saying, like I said, the consensus of this is not the asshole, and we do have an update. Hey everyone, it's been a while. I forgot my password, but a few people asked for updates on how my last post turned out. Unfortunately, a lot of you may not like the answer. Almost all of you said not to change my date and enjoy my time without them there. I followed half the advice. I eventually did relent to my family and changed the date of my wedding. My fiance, now husband, said that the date wasn't as important as my happiness and the fighting with my parents was destroying that. Now, after 6 months, we both wished we hadn't because it was useless. They still didn't show up. Not only that, but they convinced 90% of my family to not show up either. I ended up with only 4 relatives in a crowd of about 100 guests. My mother claimed that I had been excluding her from planning by scheduling venue tours on days that my fiance and I were both free, but I didn't realize she was working, and by finding my dress by surprise on a just look here trip without her being there. They hadn't shown any interest in planning, so I mainly didn't want to bother them. To them, this was a clear sign that you don't want us there, so they went out of town on the new date. In the end, narcissist mother still got her yoga, I still moved my date, and I still walked myself down the aisle. But my petty self did, in fact, strike back. Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. I had an
Get in
amazing
there.
time, and I made sure that I left obvious empty seats marked for them and told everyone the truth with a smile when they asked. The few family members that did show are now no longer speaking to them either, as all are of the friends who came. The only exception is my brother, who I'm pretty sure they asked to relay the details of the party to them, and even he has mostly entirely cut them out due to how they've acted. I haven't talked to my mother since about a month before the wedding, when she told me to get all my old things out of her house. I speak to my father very rarely and only over things like deaths in the family. My in-laws basically taken me in as their own, and I'm far happier than I ever was in the nightmare of a family I grew up with. Life is good. So there's always
my-
so
Man.
much hidden
That's what I said. It's
juice there
No,
that you
that's
don't
you
know.
nailed it. I didn't
Good.
want to throw out the narcissism word in the first round, but we were all thinking it,
Yeah.
right? We were all there. She belongs on the Raised by Narcissists Reddit page, just full of really great gems.
Oh my
That is so crazy. And do you know what I was also thinking? And it was one of many thoughts, but the only one really related to yoga studios is that to Terry's point about how the yoga hasn't worked. But I heard somewhere one time, I think it was from Michael Stone. He was a Buddhist teacher and yoga teacher, whatever. But I heard him on a podcast one time say that of all the personality disorders and sort of personality traits, many of them can be improved with meditation and yoga, but narcissism generally gets worse with these things.
Interesting.
And I think that we all know the type of anyone who's been involved long term in a yoga studio and a like spiritual community knows that type of person. I think we even might know other leaders in the community who, oh yeah, I know exactly a little who fit the bill. And I do think that this can be a really big problem. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
That is a good point.
That's so interesting.
Presidents. We might know a president or two who might be
Some
afflicted.
political leaders. All right, so in any universe, here's throw you guys a loop. Would you ever turn your wedding into a yoga retreat or crash a yoga retreat by planning a wedding instead? Like go to the yoga retreat and be like, surprise, I'm getting married.
No,
Hard no.
not a chance.
I had a client that they had booked a yoga retreat, and then it turned out that the retreat center had double booked and they were having a wedding the same weekend, telling the yoga retreat that, oh, you can't have these ocean rooms because the wedding, so I don't know if that qualifies. We got them to work that out. I suggested that they call the retreat center and say, hey, because it was like that one or two couples that were adamant for ocean views. So anyway, long story short, I said, well, why don't you call them, say, this is what the deal is. Is there anything extra that you could throw in as part of by way of a thank you for these couples? And so they did. They came up because it had like spa services and things like that. So I don't know where I was going with
That's
that, but
great
that worked out.
No, that's helpful.
Actually, I did just read a blog post about, because I'm going to Europe, and I read this tips on traveling that I've learned through the years. And one of them, he said, is crash your wedding.
Cool.
I've done
Oh,
that.
that's actually a great
So
tip. Yeah.
fun.
He said crash, and he said you'd be amazed. I've crashed a number of weddings, and I introduced myself, and people are always excited and blah blah blah. And I was like, wow. The other thing he said, which I know
That's
totally off topic, he said when you're in a taxi, ask the taxi driver to take you to meet his mom.
Oh, I would not do that.
I don't know
But I
about
like
the
Like
wedding
I've had
one.
so many home cooked meals. I was just like some of his things were
Yeah.
like, but I love the crash the wedding one.
Yeah,
So
I
Terry, you can
totally
come
see
crash.
doing that.
who can I
Terry, you
crash?
can come crash the wedding that I'll be at in Europe during the same time. You can come to Rome. You can come to our
I
wedding,
might,
the wedding
okay.
I'll be at.
Well, I'm a great wedding guest, let me tell you.
Oh, I bet. Oh my God, I'd be proud to.
Yeah.
I'll switch you out for Greg, who, it's not.
I
The
love
other thing
weddings.
and that this travel person said is that when you're doing a trip, that he recommends, I forget a phrase for it, is that you go to the furthest destination first, and then you kind of your way back to the city center. You want to get in the main city and spend a few days there before. And they said, no, go while you're just suck it up kind of, and then just get on the plane, train, or automobile. You got to get to the furthest place and then
Yeah.
go there and then work your way back. And I thought, oh, that's
Yeah, good
Yeah.
tip.
I
Agree.
don't know if I can.
Yeah. Maria, what do you have to say about all this yoga retreat, wedding, nonsense, craziness?
Oh yeah, the hard no, I would never do that. But I have crashed a wedding before on vacation, and
Oh,
and
how'd that
it
go?
was so fun. It was totally by accident, like we just like to the pool kind of thing, and then all of a sudden there's like a bride and a groom, and we're just like, oh, and it was in Mexico. And next thing you know, like fun part of the wedding, have no idea what they're because it's all
You're
like
like the ring bearer.
and then we all jump into the pool together, like clothed, like the
Oh
bride
my
jumped into
goodness.
the pool in her gown. Like,
So fun.
yeah, it was a
Oh
lot of
my
fun. So yeah,
So
pro
fun.
wedding crashing.
It reminds me, my husband was going to a wedding this summer, and it was in like the small lake town. And he sees like a bunch of cars outside of this hall and goes into the wedding and starts like getting drinks, gets like a bunch of 20 drink tickets, starts eating food, like going to the wedding because he was just invited to the
Oh, God.
reception.
Mhm.
And then he was like around, he's like, I don't really know any of these people. I thought I'd know more people here. And he's so confused, and then finds
Oh
the
my God.
photographer, like on with the camera. And he's like, where's the bride and groom? And then she's like, oh, they're over there. And he's like, oh God, I'm at the wrong wedding. Starts like giving people all these drink tickets that he got. And, like, I felt so stupid.
God.
But then when he did get to the right wedding, he wasn't the only one that did that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I said, this person's wedding, it was just like this way. You know, it's a pretty small town, and there's only two places that wedding could be. Oh gosh. Yeah. Right, friends. Well, this was fun. I'm super excited that we had our first Am I the Asshole post. But that's a wrap on this episode of Spill the Booch. Thank you for hanging out with us and sharing some laughs, because let's face it, yoga might be zen, but life isn't always. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, or share your own wild stories. They might just be heard on the show. Until next time, cheers.